Thank you for introduction. The title is like this one. And first of all, I thank to the reviewers number 4 and number 6 for their very, very constructive reviews. And also program committee, the final day, final oral session, and the final talk. It's a punishment or reward, I'm not sure. These guys are the contribution of the preliminary result and also the funding agency. But this shows outline my talk today and the introduction, the pain, and the main topic is the silicopathy and the moral tribes and the future issues and the conclusion. Anyhow, today is all the time a machine gun talk, but maybe today twice or 3 times. Anyhow, the first one is empathy is the keyword. So artificial empathy has been proposed as a developmental architecture that mirrors the affective and the cognitive mechanisms under printing the biological empathy. They're starting the mirror neural system and emotional contagion, emotional empathy, and the cognitive empathy, and through the emotional regulation, sympathy, and the compassion happen. And the in-group, out-group cognition, maybe the MBA and the childhood may happen, but it's not desirable for the artificial system. Another one is the pain. So the nervous system of the pain sensation is a key component for the shaping the conscious mind of robots. So in this paper, I say that artificial pain may induce the empathy, morality, and the ethics in the conscious mind of robots. That is my hypothesis. So in general, the pain plays a very, very fundamental role in shaping the behavior learning and the social interaction. In the biological systems, pain is not merely the physical signal. It can be remembered, shared, and used to guide the moral and the pro-social behaviors. But the pain is still big, big mystery. This is just a textbook of the war and the Melzax and the very, very sick one. So nociceptive neurons develop to form the modality of the specific connections that is the pain nervous system. So genetically, nociception embedded from the beginning. So when to discriminate the pain from touch, the researchers found that the specific neural structure necessary for the discrimination between touch and nociception emerge from 35 to 37 weeks gestation in the human brain. Therefore, before the birth, they can discriminate the touch and the pain already. Now, this shows the pain nervous system. And usually, in case of the robot system, just one pathway for the touching, and very soft touch or hard touch. But in case of the human or the animals, we have the 2 parallel pathways. One is just the mechanoreceptor for the normal touch. And the another one is the nociceptor lines. And these are independent pathways, but they interact with the spinal cord. So in case of the pain situation, in Japanese, the loving action happened. Now, this action induces the signal of the mechanoreceptors, and the mechanoreceptor block the signal from the nociception, therefore reduces the pain. And also, this shows that the parallel pain pathways. The first one is the sensor discriminative, as I mentioned already. So the where, what kind of, how long. This is some discriminative part is already established. Network is established before the birth. But after the birth, some affective, the motivational one, maybe some painful situations in the social context may happen. So the pain modulation. The gate theory is a kind of the pain modulation from bottom up, but also the top-down modulation is a very typical one. The typical one is a prediction. The walking speed is very slow, but without prediction, collision situations may be very, very painful. And also the other one is a memory of the pain. The trauma or PTSD is some mental pain happened. So we have done this very, very preliminary experiment. This is a very soft, very, very soft tactile sensors, and you can see the 3 axes of the force signal, and then hitting by hammer, and the facial expression happen, and we can easily discriminate the touch and the pain. So in this talk, I will explore how pain can be modeled and utilized in the artificial agent as both sensory motor signals and the developmental scaffold for empathy, memory, and reasoning. This table shows that very, very simple classification: short-term, long-term, and the physical and the mental. The short-term physical pain is the acute physical pain. The immediate nociceptive response based on the sensor discrimination. The short-term mental one is that the empathy for others' pain or retrieval of one's own acute experience. On the other hand, the long-term physical pain is a chronic physical pain. Medically, nothing, but the patient suffering from some pain. And also the long-term mental one is, as I mentioned, some trauma, the PTSD, and so on. So the Silicopathy is a conceptual framework of the artificial empathy with computational models consist of the 4 learning phases. First one is predictive learning on connection with multimodal input by deep modality blending network. I'll explain soon. And the second one is the predictive learning of the Asada nociception by DMBN. And third one, the reinforcement learning for empathic behavior acquisition. And fourth is efficient exploration for the generalization by parents scaffolding. So we have some assumptions on this one. Our model is based on the infant-caregiver interactions. The caregiver is a perfect model agent, and the learning agent equipped with the nervous system, as I mentioned, the mechanoreceptors and the nociception and the interaction to get theory. And the fundamental motor primitives through the motor bubbling and the primary reflective behavior against nociception such as facial expressions and simple avoiding behavior already obtained. And also the passive taking based on the DMBN structure, that's the mirroring effect. So what the DMBN? It's the original experiment. It's a setup. The Thecater 2022 is neuroscience, neural networks, the application. So this is some robot task, the pushing and the grasping. And the robot system observes its own movement, that egocentric movement, and also the joint sequence. So this is the multimodal input. So the image sequence is from the left side, and also the joint sequence. And each modality has its own representation space, the image representation space, and also joint representation space. And then this is a weighted sum. Here is just a latent space. So learning is proceeded so that the error of the prediction can be minimized. So at the beginning, this shows some visualization of the latent space. At the beginning, the joint and the vision is separated, but through the learning process of the minimization of the prediction errors, they are overlapped. So after the learning, we show the image. The robot system can imagine some sequence of the joint angles. Or if we show some joint angles, some robot can predict the sequence of the images. So it's no wonder, just a result of the learning. But one surprise is that we show some video image of the opponent. So the robot system has never observed this one. Therefore, the image errors became very large. So then, but the robot system switched to the joint sequence as a matching. And as a result, some egocentric movement happen. So this is kind of some sort of the mirroring neuron system and some capability of the passive taking. So this shows only the action, but not only the action, but also the sensation and perception. Now, typical one, the touching side. If you observe something or someone be touched, you will be touched. So in the brain, the first somatosensory area is some physical touch. But the second somatosensory area is a more abstract one. So if you observe something or someone be touched, you will be touched. That's the second somatosensory area is fired. So why not the pain? The second part is emotion sharing. So the Reservoir published a book, How Emotions Are Made. So the secret life of the brain. And she against some traditional view of the emotional space. So it's not innate, but it's made. So we have done some computer simulation of this kind of process. Just we apply some intuitive parenting. If the boy falling down, and the caregivers, oh, poor boy, like this one. So the caregiver automatically reflects the internal state of the, it shows some facial expression corresponding to the internal state of the baby. So therefore, the baby robot can, through the interaction of the baby-caregiver interaction, they gradually separate some surprise and so on. And as a result, the robot can have the capability of not copying the facial expression, but copying some internal state of estimated facial expressions, like this one. So anyhow, so the learning method like this one again, so some mechanoreceptors and some vision system and the prediction of the nociception, and also the prediction of the other nociception that through the mirroring effect, and it could be empathy, and this the other nociception prediction can be used as a negative reward of the reinforcement learning for the empathic behavior, and also the deep learning is the cost takes much more time. Therefore, some efficient exploration of the generations by parents scaffolding. And we have done some sort of some preliminary experiment of the vision and the touch, and we verify that some sensor signal is correctly the predicted, and also the image sequence too. So the latent space could be the multimodal pain representation. The moral tribes is just Joshua Green mentioned that human brain's manual mode is capacity for the deliberative reasoning, which makes our thinking flexible. But now the current world is opposite. So the some echo chamber, both sides, the mutual understanding is not possible. So I expect that Silicopathy could be some sort of beyond moral tribes. So artificial agent, the artificial pain, and the human agent is some biological brain, and the empathy and the sympathy sometimes the artificial one. And Silicopathy is the extended concept of the artificial empathy, and also the new ethics coping with the new technology maybe we need it. And as a result, we have some sort of the universal moral agent. And the future work is the generalization and the conceptualization of pain. And maybe the baby LLM is necessary. And another one is much, much, much more. So intentionally small characters. And at the conclusion, Silicopathy proposes a new developmental and the embodied approach to artificial moral agency, grounded in the pain-based learning and agent empathic modeling. And the Silicopathy serves as a conceptual and technological foundation for the future work on responsible, effectively grounded AI system. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much. I'm sure it was a reward to be the last presenter. Okay, one question here.
Thank you very much. Really exciting and interesting and ambitious work. The thought that comes to my mind is that pain is not always aversive. So first of all, some painful situations are actually pleasurable for others, but also morally, if you think about sports, and really working hard, the no pain, no gain, you get a positive reward for actually at least having low levels of pain. So I'm not sure how that kind of fits within the empathy whole model.
Thank you. Good question. Of course, this time it's in case of the designing robots, we should simplify everything. But actually, the pain is so complicated structure, so complex. So as you mentioned that, it's various kind of the situations, and also were some body parts and some the network and so on. And as you mentioned, sometimes pain could be the positive reward. It's the SM word or something, right? But anyhow, this time it's just the beginning. So I'm just initiate this process, and many people are wondering that this is not a simple one, but more complicated. Oh, you are right. Okay, let's go together. Thank you.
So, thank you. It was very interesting and a lot. So my question is, do you think that endowing robot with pain and being able to show a kind of pain, do you think that it will ease the robots being accepted by human society, or do you think instead that human will be pushed back if the robot is too much like them, let's say?
Yeah, that's another big question. So the ethical issue includes this kind of issues. So the robot could be the conscious or the moral agent or not. So there are some the discussion about this one. So someone said that the robot shouldn't be such kind of the consideration. It's just the artifact. It's just that related some concept. This morning, the Giulio Sandini gave his talk about great talk, and I asked him about the cultural difference. So in Japan, the robot could be the partner or family member, but on the other hand, the Western world, the robot could be just a tool, just an object, something. There was such a kind of difference is very, very big one. Therefore, the thinking about the robot could be the moral consideration is another issue of the how to beyond how to conquer some cultural difference among human species. So therefore, of course, there are many, many issues, and so I suppose that you raise up another issues related to the pain. Thank you. Thank you for the next question. Last one.
Thank you. It was a really fascinating talk. I guess my question's more about the idea of artificial empathy and sympathy you had at the end. As empathy is, generally speaking, that give and take system you have within a brain or within a social dynamic, do you really think that it's a valid assumption for it to be artificial? Since at that point, if the human is truly believing that the robot is in pain, wouldn't that make it genuine empathy and more of the artificial sympathy on the robot's half?
Sorry, so I couldn't catch the question. So the robot system can be, the robot system could be the empathic mind.
More the fact of, is it really artificial empathy, or do you believe that it's more true empathy on the robot and human's part, with the sympathy being the artificial half? So the two concepts being disjointed, rather the fact of if empathy is being felt by both parties, it must be genuine at that point, rather than artificial.
Much more general point. Focus about the empathy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the empathy itself is okay. So the reason why I raise this issue is that, as you know, Japan is a very, very high-aging society, and the assistant of the senior people or the people is some social demand, and in that case, not the physical assistant, but also some mental assistant might be necessary. So in that case, the robot could be some agency to trust each other. For example, in the care house of the senior people in Japan, so the introducing the robot could be a big challenge because the patient or resident is very, very careful about some treatment of something. But after introducing this one, people get used to, and then some kind of the relationship may happen. So this kind of relationship is very, very important to be thinking about some moral consideration for the robots. So in case of the Paro is the very famous robots in Japan or around the world, and this is no communication. Our house says just no language communication, only the non-verbal communication, but still some sort of the function is healing some people, this one. So therefore, this kind of interaction is very, very necessary for the underground. To think about some moral consideration, and empathy could be one of the key points or key function of these situations. Did I answer to the question? It's okay.
Okay, so thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thank you for your at the end. All right, thank you.